Welcome everyone to our very first episode of Ground Zero with me, of course, Ndi Kato, your host. And okay, so I did think of where to begin in getting young people interested in politics, and I had two options. One of the options was okay, I teach young people political participation based on my experience and how much we're pushing on that end. And the second option was actually putting out enough information, about what is happening around us and seeing if that would ginger young people. And of course, I chose the ginger. So here we are. And so my first episode is actually tagged the most boring elections in Africa. And this is directly influenced by the small time I spent in Accra observing the Ghanaian elections. 3 weeks ago, it was 3 weeks ago, I'm sure it will qualify for 3 weeks now, I was in a friend's office and there was this TV station, Joy News, and that is like, perhaps I should say, the most popular TV station in Ghana. And they were reporting on the Electoral Commission having delivered, the election materials to the different regions. Like regions are in Ghana, like states in Nigeria. So literally, the Electoral Commission, 3 weeks to election, had already delivered these materials. And I was watching, I was like, no. I said, is there another place for them to deliver? He was like, no. This is it. They've delivered it to the regions. But then Ghana likes to do the whole, sure, you think you have seen the best thing. We have another thing to show you. So all agents of the different political parties all had their agents there. So when the Electoral Commission of Ghana delivers these election materials to these regions, right? Every agent of all political parties will have their agents there. Then the agents will now go through the election materials. Like they have to be satisfied with it. If one party says they're not satisfied with it, those election materials will not be allowed. Like that's a big deal. We're not going forward. So the agents are waiting. These bags come. They open all of the bags. They count the ballot papers. They count everything to make sure that there is no room for any form of magu. That was one of the things that really, really struck out for me, and I knew that okay, something was going to be different. Part of this gist, of course, is transparency, right? So there is more to the transparency thing. Apart from that point where they have delivered the election materials and all the party agents have to go and check, when the Electoral Commission is printing the ballot papers, Ghanaian political parties have to vet the process. If they do not think that the process, is going to provide or produce proper ballot papers, or there's going to be something that will give room for rigging, then they will say it is not okay, and the Electoral Commission cannot continue. And so all of these things, I'm like, I thought all of these things are usually shrouded in secrecy. No. Transparency from the beginning of the process is key, and it's something that I was like, okay, this is like it has taken out a huge percent of what would make people fear that elections will not go the right way, right? So transparency was a major thing for me. Let's start with quality of conversations in the build up to the elections. I remember one of the things people, like if you hear supporters of the President Nana Akufo-Addo talking about the former President John Mahama, I remember they were like, the man like woman, all those things. And I remember one time I heard somebody talking on the radio, and this person was really giving points. Hold on, please. And this person, sorry guys, this person was really giving points. Like the person was talking like someone that was say, senior special assistant to the president, very suave, and was really putting out these points. And then I asked my Uber, I was like, who is this? She was like, that's John Mahama. I say, are you sure? He said it's John Mahama. So on my own, I was like, are you sure? Like, I can see where the ladies might probably, but this is not political, so let's shift that. But it is that John Mahama is actually a very, very intelligent person. Very articulate, very intelligent. President Nana Akufo-Addo is a very intelligent man. I've heard him speak. I've shared a stage with him. Very intelligent, very articulate. And the key thing to their conversations is policies. Difference in policies, difference in delivering of those policies. And it was really great to see that we're not talking about trivial issues. And here is another thing that I noticed, that look, this quality of conversations, every single card that I entered, everybody you're talking to in Ghana is telling you these things. Like, these are the things they can relate to, and this is why they will be voting for either party. That really mattered to me. I really liked seeing that, and I hope that we would find our way to that point where we're not saying he attends my church, or he's a professor, therefore, and if he's a professor, he should show working. So Ghanaians are really big on showing working, and the conversations around elections, show working. Let's talk about the election day. It was this past Monday, and I remember that morning I woke up, I had to go to, I was going to Legon, University of Legon, which is University of Ghana, to go and watch, elections there. And the Uber, the Uber that came to pick me, this is a very funny story. So we drive out of my apartment complex, and everywhere is just normal. I mean, there are not as many people on the streets because you could either close your office, you could go. There are not as many people on the streets, but it was just normal. There was no heavy police or military presence, nothing. And so we got to the first place, like as on our way to Legon, University of Legon. We got to the first place where you could see people voting, and I saw a boy riding his bike on the street. Hold on. I saw a boy riding his bicycle on the street. I was like, this boy is riding bicycle. They are doing elections. And then one man had his kiosk open. He sells shoes. And the line passed the front of his kiosk. Then there's another one with her small provision kiosk open too. And then I tell my Uber, I said, okay, people are lined up. This is a polling unit and these people's stores are open. There's a boy riding his bike. What's happening? And he turns and tells me, Madam, it's an election, not a lockdown. And I have this in my head. It keeps ringing in my head. It keeps ringing in my head that these people have, like, Ghanaians have their elections. Ghanaians feel safe to go to the polls. Ghanaians do not think that is a day of terror or a day that a bullet can just land somewhere, or if you go to the wrong place you'll be beaten. None of that. It's life as normal. You come out, you carry out your civic duties in all peace and tranquility, highly likely in this place, and then you go back. So people were coming out to vote and just, okay, let me just line up. And these lines were not, it's not the one that you're waking up in the morning and then you're lining up. No, the polls opened at 7 a.m. Ghana, come on. At some point, you're like showing off now to the rest of us. The polls open at 7 a.m. Time was not wasted. There was this place, I think it's called Medina SD. There's a school where, I think something Advent school, not in my head right now. But we got there, and then I saw several like polling booths, and then I asked, and they're like, oh, okay. What happened was, it was supposed to be one polling booth, but the Electoral Commission, the officials, realized that would cause really long lines and stress the people. Of course, before you enter to vote in Ghana, there's somebody waiting for you at the entrance to your polling unit to give you hand sanitizer. You must come with your face mask. All of those things were actually adhered to. They were adhered to. So the next step is, those people, the story I was getting to is that they said that they felt like the lines would be too much and it would stress the voters. So what did they do? They literally just brought out those boxes, those polling booths, and made 7 of them. And said, okay, so instead of 1, we're doing 7. And it just showed like this is such a simple solution. This is such a simple solution. The line will be too long. What can we do? Make it 7. What would happen? People will be relaxed. People will vote in peace. All of the squabbles won't be there. And then we close earlier. Like, it's just how it is. Like, it will just be a simpler process. And that was it. That really, really, really struck a chord for me. And it's not like we're discovering something. No, it's not. This is really just simple and it's common sense. Moving on, University of Legon. When I got to University of Legon, what did we see? Polling units in the hostels. Like, they bring this, but they don't tell students, okay, election is coming, so you all have to close the university and start traveling kilometers away, risking lives and all of those things. No, there are polling units in the hostels. I didn't even say in the classrooms of the universities, no, in the hostels. So students just have to stroll down from their rooms. So students were coming out in their shorts, t-shirts. It was around the girls' hostels so that girls didn't have to go far. They're coming out in their shorts, t-shirts. Some girls were in half top, crop top. No anti-electoral commission person saying, look at how you're dressed, go back inside, or harassing. No such thing. These students felt very safe. Who were the agents in the University of Legon? They were students. So I found out that there is actually active youth participation in Ghanaian politics. By youth participation, it means that people from their teenage years can be in active politics. Young people can register. There is political participation, political events from Ghanaian political parties in universities. Students can have interest groups for political parties in universities. Students can start active political participation from that age. And because there is a youth wing, we'll get to that conversation. I think I should have an entire episode for youth wing for Nigerian universities. And because there is a youth wing, what happens is this place it feels like home for children. It's not like they're coming to come and just mix with the adults or the older people and don't know where they fit in. So that is the key thing. Young people, university students, were actually the agents for the MPP, for the NDC, and for other political parties at the university level. Great stuff to see. This, of course, was not an election without, its own tragedies. So the Ghanaian elections actually cost, 5 people their lives. And so when we're talking about this, it's important to state that. Now, while this number may be very low compared to what, the chaotic neighbors of Ghana may have to offer during their elections, what other African countries witnessed during their elections, those are still 5 lives that matter. And another thing we should talk about is this is how it starts. So we must look at these 5 lives. Should they have gone? What are the repercussions? Who was involved in the death of these people? And ensure that justice is served. Because if justice is not served, it emboldens more people towards this kind of thing. So for me, that stood out, and it was important to pass the message, especially as someone who comes from a country where this has been very normalized. It is important that Ghanaians speak out against this and ensure that justice is served. We also saw accountability and there's some form of justice. So what other things were, so this is the liveliest part of the Ghanaian elections, the campaign songs. While I cannot keep every campaign song in my head, there is one that has ruined things for me. I can just be sitting down and I'll just remember 2020, 2024 more for Nana, 2020, and it just comes on. And this song, it's such a silly song. Like, it ends with, "The battle is the Lord's." I won't forget that one. Okay, so after the elections, of course, I would say there was tension between the political parties, not between Ghanaians. So Ghanaians were not afraid that, because these two political parties disagree, our lives are going to be in danger. No, both parties were beginning to declare each other, MPP said they had won, NDC said they had won. It was a very tightly contested race, and I really enjoyed that it was tightly contested. That, nobody at some point could say, look, we had this 100%. Everything was split right in the center. Every single thing. The MPs right now, MPP has 137 MPs, that's members of parliament, and the NDC, the opposition party, has 136. Then there is one person who is a neutral candidate who does not belong to either political parties. And so that is it. The parliament is actually split right in the center. And I do say that this is good for democracy. Why? Because at this point, this parliament, the president is not going to have it as a walk in the park. If he just says something, then the parliament agrees to it. Some of the parts of the election I'll point out is, while the MPP won the election, I do feel like the MPP will consider this a loss at the same time because the numbers were pretty tight. That's number one. Number two, they lost a lot of seats in the parliament. But a lesson that should be learned from here is that immediately we started hearing conversations from the MPP on what they need to do to fix what led them to that situation. So apparently, the MPP, important personalities within the MPP and other people you speak to on the street actually admit that their primaries process, the process of their primaries was not did not reflect internal democracy, and this affected things. It means that the preferred candidates, people who the people wanted to see win, the process did not produce those people, and they paid for it at the polls. Now, immediately, the MPP has gone to say they are going to review their process of the process of their primaries to see to it that it's more democratic. That is a party that intends to sustain and intends to grow. And it's a lesson for us because you will see political parties in Nigeria, opposition or ruling party, they have gone through so much, but there's never a point of that, introspection, like, we think we didn't get it right here, we think we can get it right here. If you are truly interested in politics, that is something you would do. We lost this seat. We know that we have no intention of rigging, or this process it's very difficult to be rigged. So what are we going to do? We will come back inside, sit within ourselves. I think the director of the presidential campaign for the MPP, Chairman Peter McMahon, put that out. He said, no, we don't think that we got it right at the primaries. What are we going to do? We will fix our primaries, because in that we will produce candidates that the people truly want, and we will not have this kind of loss again. And I think that is a huge lesson I want us to leave with. So that is it. I've brought to you the most boring election in Africa. There was no ballot snatching. The opposition candidates did not have police running after them, all of that. They were not throwing corruption cases at them, no threats. The candidates talked to the issues, and these issues were mostly around policies. This is the difference in policies. This is what this one prefers, what that one prefers. There was conversation around corruption too, and it wasn't just broad and baseless. Every candidate had what they could throw at the other, concrete things. This is what we think, and so it's not, oh, I think you're corrupt. No, there were strict points to these things. All these candidates, Ghanaians have a thing when it comes to their candidates. Even when you're running for parliament, you hear them say, do you have a doctorate? It means that it matters to them that the quality of candidates they produce can deliver. And you can see that in the quality of governance. So for me, this was really boring, and boring is good. I didn't fall asleep. I was just in wonder, like, really? This is how elections are? And I do hope that a certain African country that prides itself as the giant of Africa can learn from this, and not just Nigeria. Actually, all other African countries can learn from this. We need that one beacon of light, and I think that Ghana gave us a great example this year. We should emulate towards better elections from for Africa. The main thing I want us young people to take away from this also is youth participation, young people knowing about this process, being actively involved in this process. And I think that is something from the university up. So I'll leave us with this. Can we fight for youth wings in Nigerian political parties? Thank you. It's me, Ndi Kato, our first episode of Ground Zero. See you next time.